Good evening, everyone. This is our last meeting before 2020. Just give that a little thought. So the next time you come to a board meeting, it'll be next year. And so with that being said, we want to go ahead and get started because we know a lot of you still have Christmas shopping to do, or you have exams to study for. And we want to make sure that we don't keep anyone up too late, but we want to welcome all of you tonight, and we thank you for attending our board meeting. And at this time, I would ask if Ms. Glenda Marson-Fair would be so kind as to do the prayer.
Thank you. Let us pray. Dear God, as we come to the close of another year, let us reflect on goals that were set at the beginning of 2019, remembering that it is easier to build strong children than to repair broken men. We give thanks and celebrations for our successes and acknowledge our failures, remembering we are all human and we don't always get it right the first time. Let us pause to reactivate our dreams as we build strong leaders, using the talents and abilities of this organization. We give thanks for an organization that dares to be different, using as its guiding principles respect, teamwork, and accountability. Sometimes being different is scary, but because we have leaders who dare to be different, Greenville County has made a difference. God, we ask that these continual blessings in the years to come. Amen.
Please remain standing. I will now ask Mr. Chuck Sailors if he would be so kind as to introduce our young man from Wade Hampton High School, Dallas, who will lead us in the pledge. Mr. Sailors.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Dallas, would you please come to the podium, please, sir? As Linda has shared with us, Dallas is a junior at Wade Hampton High School and has been serving as flight commander for the Air Force ROTC there at the school for some time. He's a very principled, mature, energetic, and thoughtful young man. His mother and grandmother are here with him this evening, and I'm sure that they're all proud of him. His plans are, once he's finished with his high school education, is to major in, let's see if I've got this right, aerospace and mechanical engineering. Now, the only problem I have with that is he's listed the University of South Carolina as his place to go. But nevertheless, regardless of what he ends up doing as far as the school, he wants to be a flight mechanic in the Air Force at some point in time and use those skills that he learns in school to better our country. And for that young man, we appreciate your service. Thank you so very much. So at this time, Dallas, the floor is yours. If you would please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
At this time, I would ask that Dallas's mother and grandmother, principal, everyone,
Y'all can be seated. Thank you.
And who else is here with you? Do you want to be in this picture?
I've already been in one. Go ahead. You go right ahead.
Mr. Boyce,
It's like, I almost just handed the paper down.
Come in there and be a positive influence. Be good.
calm down. Thank you. No game comments. There aren't really any. Thank you. It's on the tip of my tongue. I have the pleasure of introducing our students who will be performing from the Fine Arts Center Voice Studio. These young people were greeting us when we entered the district office, and I will tell you, if that did not get you in the Christmas spirit, I don't know what will. So, as I introduce you, if you would come up to the front, and then if I do not pronounce your name correctly, you correct me when you get here, okay? Tonight, we have Ms. Danielle Knox, who is the Teacher of the Year for the Fine Arts Center. Sarah Glenn. Did I not do that right? Oh, I'm sorry. Sarah Glenn? Sarai. See, I told you. Sarai. Carly Miller. Nala Fisher. Hannah Ramsey. Douglas Colclaser. Aaron Foster. And Simon Collins.
comes the stocking of little Will. Oh, just see what a glorious fill. Here is a hammer, lots of tacks, also a ball and lots of snacks. Ho, 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 who would go? Ho, 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 who would go? Up on the housetop, click, click, click. Down through the chimney with good Saint Nick.
So at this time, just line up right here in the front, get real close. We're going to be in the back, but I'm going to ask Derek and Chuck to be on the bottom, and the men, all the men, y'all are on the bottom. Stop right, Pat and Roger, and then the ladies, we're going to be behind y'all. How's that? If we can get a picture. Everybody, we need to get in real close, right, Terry? Real close, close and personal. Close and personal. Close and personal. Maybe. Come here, Debbie. Make my face hurt. You want us to hold your book? You got it? Okay. Ho, ho, ho. Y'all were fantastic. Thank you for greeting and wishing us a Merry Christmas, and we also wish y'all all a Merry Christmas. Thank you for coming tonight.
The one with the bass voice is
Oh,
him over there.
That's
I heard
Wow.
Is he?
Excellent. Yeah, we're happy to have him. This is great. Thank you, Ms. Knox. Good. Oh, and Mr. V, I forgot to put you in that picture. Shame on me.
I would have made it much.
Oh, you would have made it. You would have made the picture. I cannot say enough about Mr. V, Director V. He is just a breath of fresh air at the Fine Arts Center. He is a remarkable individual who has just brought so much joy to our community. And you just keep touching many lives, and our young people are so excited with your direction. Thank you. Thank you so much. All right, moving right along. Do I have a motion to accept the consent calendar?
Motion to approve.
Any questions? All in favor, please address by raising your right hand. All opposed? The consent calendar is approved. There are no visitors, but before we move into business, I would like to announce we are very, very proud of our very own Chuck Sailors, who is now president of the South Carolina School Board Association. Most of us attended the conference last weekend, and weekend before, and I will tell you, Chuck's speech was just incredible. It touched everyone who was there, and he is going to lead our state and all of our state board members in the direction that most of them need some direction to go. And so, except Greenville, we know where we're headed. But with Chuck's leadership and mentoring skills and all that he offers, Chuck, thank you for representing Greenville, and thank you for being our president. And we are just so proud of you. You're so welcome. And I will say, Debbie Bush once held that same position. She was the South Carolina School Board president, and everybody called her President Bush. And so, and I remember, but let me tell you, President Bush and President Sailors, they are just above all. So we are very proud. Thank y'all for your leadership skills and direction and all you do for all of our children in Greenville County as well as the state. With that being said, at this time, Debbie, thank you for the poinsettias. Thank you. They're beautiful. I love them. I will probably share mine with one of the district employees. My husband won't see them, except I'll take a picture and I'll say, this could have been yours, but it's not. So thank you. At this time, I will turn it over to Superintendent Dr. Royster for his report.
Thank you, Ms. Levitt, Wells. The superintendent's report tonight is quite simply this. I wish for each of you a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Well, that's going to work for us. And I'm sure it will work for everyone in the audience as well. I'm sorry?
That's what said if he's all right with that.
All right, so 5.01, revision of policy GBRK, vacations and holidays. Recommended motion from the Committee of the Whole to approve the proposal revised to the board policy GBRK. Coming from the Committee of the Whole, it needs no second. Any questions? All those in favor of accepting the recommendation, raise your right hand. All opposed, raise your right hand. And the motion passes. Thank you. Mr. Lewis, if you could be a little more excited about raising your right hand. I'm just picking on you. I know. 5.02, revision of policy GBRIB, personal leaves and absences, illnesses. Recommended motion from the Committee of the Whole needs no second. To approve the motion on the floor is to approve the proposed revision to the board policy GBRIB. Any questions? Hearing none, all in favor, please address by raising your right hand. All opposed, the motion carries. 5.03, approval of fund balance expenditures. So, the recommended motion from the Committee of the Whole to assign $25,483,541 in unassigned general fund balance monies to meet a number of one-time security, academic/CTE, capital, and other needs. Any questions? Coming from the committee, it needs no second. Ms. Wells.
Sorry.
No, that's okay. That's okay.
So because we got some information, I got a lot of information in between last week when we approved, we had some questions and we got a lot of information. So thank you for that, for providing those. Just wanted to bring some clarity to me. One of the questions I asked was about the fund balance request and its relation to our current long-range facilities plan and the CIP. And so you sent us that information. And what I believe, as you and I walk through it, Dr. Wester, I just want to make sure we run through it again in a summary format. What I believe I understand is that with regard to the CIP improvements, so outside of the academic ad, all the CIP projects are enhancements and additions to what was already approved in the long-range facilities plan, with the exception of the weight rooms. And so when you were thinking about what our capital plan was and what it is, we're really adding enhancements to the capital plan by using the general fund balance. With the weight rooms, as I understand it, what we're doing, because we're assigning general fund balance early on, the $10 million, we're going to basically create some cushion or capacity beginning in fiscal year 25, where we had projected to have 1.5 million a year for several years to fund those weight rooms. So
Maybe 9 or 10 million to offset future increases perhaps in other areas, but basically giving relief to funding within the currently established capital projects budget.
So what I believe, what my hope was, and I believe is going to be the case, is that because of that will provide us some insulation from any need to increase the debt service fund millage in the near future.
Right, but based on our current plan, yes, ma'am, that would be correct. Absent, I think I used the phrase, absent some catastrophic, cataclysmic some huge unexpected growth that might occur. I believe that will be accurate.
Okay, and I think what you'd said in the COW is that you also were going to be bringing back recommendations for use of the debt service fund balance as well that will come.
In January, we'll bring that to you. Excuse me. It's what will allow the rest of the acceleration of the weight programs. I think that gets us through, I believe the one you have in front of you tonight, gets us through the 7, Greer already being underway. It accelerates the rest of them. We're still tweaking that to make sure the exact year break, because we also will be bringing a request to offset some increased costs that we believe will be associated with Robert Cashin addition using that same source. And we also have to be very careful as we plan through this that we have sufficient funding for that Innovation Technology Center. In any increased cost that might result in that construction, we need to make sure that we have a cushion going forward for that.
Okay.
So that's the reason that we weren't quite ready to bring that part in December.
Okay. So when you come in January, then you'll be able to you will have looked at everything that's in the long-range facilities plan budget and be able to project adjustments that might need to be made to any of those additions, projects that are already funded.
Most
Right.
particularly the short term. When I say short term, the next 3 to 5 year range.
Okay. Which again, I think will be a great positive versus us having to make adjustments to capital budgets as we build. So
We
I
feel like we're
appreciate
still
that.
on a good path forward, and our plan is still aligned with what we're seeing in growth. Again, absent something we can't predict.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Any other questions? Hearing none, the motion is on the floor. We will take a vote. All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, the motion carries. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Wells. And 5.04, budget adjustment for Summit Drive Elementary School addition. Recommended motion from the Committee of the Whole to increase the budget for the Summit Drive Elementary School addition by $2,399,400 for a total estimated project cost of $13,485,670. Any questions? Hearing none. All in favor, please raise your right hand. All opposed? The motion carries. Thank you. 5.05, physical education exemption. Recommended motion from the administration to approve a physical education exemption for one student at Malden Middle School. Dr. Royster.
I don't have any public session.
Okay.
Unless someone
I
has
need
a
a
question, just
mo-
go into executive session.
Okay. Ms. Wells?
Yeah, I move to approve a physical education exemption for one student at Malden Middle School.
Okay. And there's a second, Dr. Cristobal O'Connor. Any questions? Hearing none, all in favor, please address by raising your right hand. All opposed, the motion carries. Thank you. Yes, ma'am. Mr. Sailors? We will accept it as a right. He meant to be right. 5.06, audit of student activities funds analytical. Recommended motion from internal auditing services to accept the audit of student activities funds analytical July 1, 2017 through June 30th, 2018. Any questions? Rick, do you have anything you'd like to say? I mean, do you, pertaining
Madam
to this
Chairman.
recommended motion, since it's
Oh.
coming from you?
On,
No? Okay. I
I
have
have a
two,
presentation, but I mean,
on this one?
if you like,
Oh, on
Yes.
this, yes,
okay.
okay.
But
Not
first of
on-
all,
Okay, go ahead.
I'd like to take this opportunity to announce my plans to retire on June 30th, 2020. I would also like to thank the Board of Trustees for giving me this opportunity. I'd also like to thank the superintendent and the administration for their cooperation over the years. And also, I would like to thank my employees for their hard work, dedication, and putting up with me for all this time. Thank you.
Well, I don't think that would be difficult putting up with you, Rick. I'm thinking it would be an honor, and thank you, and what a Christmas gift you're giving yourself this year. But we'll get back to what you just told us once we process it, but do you have anything you want to add to this motion about the internal auditing service for the student activity fund?
I have a quick presentation. This audit was performed to review the financial activity of student activity funds. Like it was stated earlier, the audit period covered July 1st, 2017 to June 30th, 2018, and included 57 locations, which were 32 elementary schools, 7 middle schools, 14 high schools, and 4 centers. For each location, we performed an analytical review of the overall fund balance and significant accounts. We verified receiving of funds from outside vendors such as photographers, vending companies, PTSA, booster clubs, and other Greenville County schools. We also reviewed the year-end bank reconciliation, and we also verified the investment pool program balances. This report consists of 5 observations. The first observation concerns at one location, the extended day program receipts were lower than the expected based on the number of students enrolled in the program. The principal contacted parents who owed funds to the program and set up payment plans. We also included a fairly long recommendation, and management has their action plan. Observation number 2, checks were made payable to high schools are being deposited into Booster Club's bank accounts. Booster Clubs sponsor events that require entry fees. Checks are being made payable to schools rather than Booster Clubs. Although the checks are made payable to schools, these checks are being deposited into Booster Club's bank accounts. And again, we made a lengthy recommendation. Observation number 3 concerns to ensure schools are receiving their fair share of funds for athletic playoff events from host schools and also receiving commissions from outside vendors. Both schools did receive the funds owed to them for the playoff events, and also all the vendors issued 4 replacement checks for the commissions owed to the schools. And observation number 4 concerning one location that did not receive a commission from a vending company. The monthly commissions for the school were included in a commission for another Greenville County school. The vending company combined the monthly commission amounts and submitted the total to one school. And the 5th and last observation has to do with properly investing available funds in the district investment pool program. And we found that there was 13 locations had additional funds that were available to be invested in the district's investment pool program. That concludes my presentation, Madam Chairman.
Great. Yes, Ms. Wells?
Madam Chairman, I move to accept the audit of student activity funds analytical July 1st, 2017 to June 30th, 2018.
And a second, Dr. Crystal Ballantyne. Any questions? Mr. Lewis?
First, Ms. Barber, I appreciate your time that you've spent with us and being one of the few people that's been with this organization longer than most of the board members have. It's just been a real privilege to have you in this role, and I look forward to you enjoying your retirement, but know that you will be missed here. So thank you.
Thank you.
I had a question about the Booster Club processes, and so it may be for you, but it may be for Dr. Royce from staff. So help me understand, if there's an event that the Booster Club conducts, then the money goes to the Booster Club and not to the school. Is that how this is?
I think an example of that would be Ms. Stack can provide some more information on this if I misspeak or I'm not giving you a good example. But let's say Eastside Booster Club holds a wrestling tournament. It's the Eastside Booster Club Wrestling Tournament. Sometimes the other schools that enter that tournament, instead of making their check payable to the Eastside High School Booster Club, might make their check payable to Eastside High School. Then the school would put that over to the Booster Club, which they either need to return the check to the school that sent it to them and have it corrected, or put it in their own account. They could do either of the two. Preferably, they'd return it and get a correct check. That's quite simply what that is.
In that example, for example, if Eastside High School Booster Club has a wrestling tournament and they have expenses that are tied to that wrestling tournament, does the district pay out those expenses, or the Booster Club pays them directly? How are expenses?
Normally, the expense of an event sponsored by the Booster Club would be paid by the Booster Club.
Directly from the Booster Club's
Directly from the
separate
Booster
checking
Club.
account.
I'd have to check and see about the officials' payment for wrestling officials, or basketball tournament for the basketball officials, but other expenses would come from the Booster Club.
That's directly out of the accounts that they manage separate
Right.
from us. In this case, it just happens to be that the check has the name of
Yes,
the school.
it's
without
not
the-
unusual for another high school to write the check and just send it to the school, confusing the two entities. It shouldn't happen, but it's not an uncommon occurrence.
When we think about sporting events like that, sporting events as fundraisers, are they generally put on by the booster clubs, or are they more often put on by the school itself? And
Most of these would be things like maybe an invitational basketball tournament, an invitational wrestling tournament. Ms. Stack might give you some other examples, or Mr. Reimer. Those are probably the most common ones. Maybe an invitational baseball tournament. They're not regular season or playoff competitions.
great, thank you very much.
Ms. Michelle Goodwin-Caldwell.
Thank you, Rudy. I was looking at the, observation number 5. What is the district investment pool?
That is the administration can probably answer it better than I can, but that's the savings account that the administration provides to schools to put excess funds into that savings account to earn greater interest than they can keeping it in their regular banking account. So, for instance, if they have $50,000, but they only really need about $10,000 or $15,000 to pay bills, they could basically conceivably put $35,000 in that investment pool account and earn a little higher interest because they don't really need those funds right now.
Okay, do we not have a certain percentage that the schools carry over for these funds? Because I'm looking at if the students for that year, if all of the fundraising is done for that year, those students should benefit from those funds. Is it a certain percentage that, when I was looking down at the list of all of the schools and what money they have, is it a certain percentage that they can carry over?
There's a certain percentage recommended in the Student Activity Fund handbook that a certain percentage of your total amount of cash that you should have invested in the investment pool. So that's how we look at it. So we look at their total available cash, less what they may have already committed to, commitments, and we consider that their available cash, and we look and see what amount that they should have invested in the investment pool. So that's where that observation comes from.
I think what there might be a little misunderstanding there. The money never at any time becomes property of the district. It remains the school's money. But when they get over a certain amount in their local accounts, we put it in the investment pool, and by pooling all the money, obviously we get a higher return of interest rate, and they get a prorated share of that interest income. So the money continues to be theirs. They have access to it if they need it, and they receive a share. So if their total amount represents 7% of the investment pool, they get 7% of the return.
But my question is, do the students benefit from the funds that they raise?
Yes, there is a requirement that funds raised from or by students be expended for the purpose for which it was raised.
Okay, because I was looking at these amounts, and this is like some high balances here. I guess I'm not reading this this report like that's the way it is.
And you'll have
You'll be
some,
reading it.
you'll have some high balances, but you'll also, for example, look and see at their disbursements. They also have a large amount of disbursements. And those things fluctuate over time.
What does that mean, the percent change, that VA slash A? What does that
From, just simply from one fiscal year into the next. In other words, Armstrong had 16% less of a balance in fiscal year 18 than they did in fiscal year 17. And Augusta Circle had 2% more.
Any other questions?
And these balances also include what a school might have invested in the investment pool. So that's just their total cash. So some of it will be in their checking account, and some of it will be in the investment pool account. So it's always their money, they never lose it, but they're just going to gain more interest by investing in that investment pool. But so these amounts in columns A and B include the total amount of cash available for those schools. And well, like I said, it also includes what's in their checking account and their savings account, the investment pool account.
Okay, are they required to spend the interest amount that they are making?
No, you can do whatever you want.
So they can keep it in there forever if they want to?
Yes, ma'am.
That's not benefiting the students, but anyway, I've got another question. The schools, that you audited for 17, 18, I see that it's not all of the schools, so were the rest of the schools for 18, 19, are they being audited?
Yeah, we try to have a rotation, and we also get a recommendation from the administration to look at some schools that they may want us to look at. So we have a rotation we put them on.
So if they're not listed here, they probably were in the audit from the 18, 19 since.
Yes, ma'am, or the year before.
Or the year before. So you take a 3-year rotation?
We try to at least get them every 3 years, yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Rick.
Any other questions? Ms. Wells?
I guess I have a question for the administration related to the balances. I think we've talked about this in the past, but I can't remember it. Do you guys have a recommendation for kind of an upper limit for how much money you would want to carry the balance? I guess I'm looking at especially elementary schools, that these are in our school activity fund. So how are they generating, if you got $300,000+ sitting, how are you generating that money? Is that coming from after school primarily? Or?
A majority of it is from the after-school programs that the elementary schools hold.
Okay. And are they providing to the administration some plan related to, if you're carrying that kind of balance, are they providing a plan for, here's what we want to spend money on, we're raising money or holding money for a period of time so we can do X or do Y?
It's
No, we've never required a plan from schools to how they utilize their local revenues. We have rules about how they account for those revenues and how they take them in, and rules for how they may be spent. But we don't go look at their balances and see, out of all these schools, how they might be spending that money. We believe that that's an issue that should rest with the good judgment of the principal in that school, and they should not be raising money in excess of that which they need. But there would be reasons, as you already alluded to, something they might be saving up to do over time. When you get into middle school and high school, particularly when you look at athletics, you never know when you're going to have a bad year. And a bad year could be it rains every Friday night during football season. A bad year could be you win 2 basketball games. So there's always good reason to maintain a cushion there, particularly in the secondary schools, and I would imagine there are also some reasons to do that in the elementary schools. Some things that you may do one year or the next. You may have a big fundraiser that you normally would have in the I don't know, in the fall or the spring, and perhaps weather interferes with it in this coming year, and you don't make as much as you did last year. I think principals try to be very conservative, which applies not only to the money they raise, but also in how they spend it to make sure they don't have to be concerned about having enough there.
Yeah, yeah. And it just reminded me, there's some commentary that I had read recently about the concern with us not providing, as a school district collectively, the public schools not providing enough money, and teachers and parents having to pay, in addition to paying their taxes for public school, having to pay more money. So it's just kind of a question about, watching that balance to be sure we're not just raising money because we can, and charging fees because we can. So, okay, thank you.
Is that it? Anyone else? Dr. Cristobal O'Connor.
I would like for anyone who wants to.
Here, go ahead.
Question and report to go ahead and do that, because mine's a comment at the
Okay.
end, once everybody's finished with their questions.
Mr. Shamley.
I just had a question. I didn't my home and how is the decision made, and are there limitations on how the money can be spent?
There are a whole set of limitations, and probably be best if we sent you that through the handbook that we have for managing student activity funds. Obviously, there's certain things you can't spend school funds on, no matter how they were raised. I think that's the kind of thing you're asking about. We'll be glad to send you that. Yes, sir.
Because somebody's made, the decision to spend the money and what they're going to spend it on, that may apply to booster club or.
These funds, because they're school-generated student activity funds, they would be made by the principal of the school, and generally speaking, like other decisions that are made, we would encourage and believe that in a lot of cases they're made with significant input from other people in the school.
Maybe I just thought more on the subject is, if they're spending it on goods and services, let's say, are they required to follow the bid processes? Is there a process for them to follow, or is there requirements from the school board normally, accepting bids or whatever they're doing?
There are some items for which they are required to accept bids or requests for proposals, and there are others that they are not. Well, one thing with a big ticket item, just as an example, annuals, class supplies, when I say supplies, graduation supplies, those sorts of things.
Thank you. Dr. Cristobal O'Connor.
Yes, I just wanted to go back to the first statement you made, Mr. Barber, and say to you that there would never be a good time for me to receive that news that you've decided to retire.
Oh,
But I am thankful that you're not saying it and then just, it's an immediate goodbye, and that as you are such a great professional in everything you do, it's not surprising that you are giving us plenty of time to prepare and help in any way you can before you go. But I just wanted to say that you were here when I got here in 1998, and you taught me so much, and we used to have a lot more rocky situations in those early years, and I believe that we can attribute a lot of that smoothness to your work and how you have guided us into a place that we don't have those sorts of events that we used to see in the district. And maybe the most important thing I learned from you when I said, how do you walk this balance between serving the board, going in to seek any kind of needs for improvement in the district and with the administration, and how they're so open to you. And you said, well, because I view myself as a teacher, and my goal is to help when I have a finding to teach people how to get it right, because I don't believe they intend to get it wrong, and my wish is to help them avoid repeating those mistakes. And when you told me that, I realized why you were able to get along as well as you do with everybody. And I just wanted to say that it's been a true joy working with you, and you have such integrity and the right temperament for this, and I'll miss you greatly. So, thanks.
Thank you. There's a motion on the floor. Any other questions? All in favor, please address by raising your right hand. All opposed, right? The motion carries. Before we move to 6.01, Rick, I just want to thank you as well, but I also want to thank you for your staff as well. Your staff has done a remarkable job over the years, as well as you have. Thank you for your leadership, your guidance, and for answering questions at our board meetings, as well as committee of the whole, et cetera. You are a great person, you're a great father, you're a great husband, and you've been a great leader for us, the school board. So we thank you for all you do, and you will continue doing. And you're smiling, and that's a great, why is it when people retire, they start to smile? But you have a great smile, you keep smiling. And I promise you will love retirement, but you will be so busy, you won't know what to do. So just use your auditing skills and prioritize. But with that being said, we'll go to 6.01, Internal Auditing Services Project Status Report. Rick, do you have anything for us?
No, we're just presenting our normal monthly status report on the projects that we're working on, and I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Does anyone have any questions for Rick? Rick, I know you're going to cut out of here, but before you do, I'm going to give you my poinsettia.
Okay.
So are there any questions? I'm going to give you my poinsettia that Debbie gave to me.
My retirement gift.
Yeah, your first retirement gift, but the first of many. Any questions for Rick? All right, Rick, thank you so much. Merry Christmas to you and your family, and
Thank you.
and thank you for your service. Okay, next order of business will be 7.01, committee liaisons and reports. Yes, Mr. Lewis.
Madam Chairman, thank you. The Advocacy Committee met tonight and had a presentation from Jason Zacher and the Upstate Chamber Advocacy Group, and they really had some great information to present. If you didn't get a copy of their advocacy platform, if you'll let me know after the meeting, I'll make sure that we get some extra copies to those who weren't able to attend. But there were a couple of things I thought were really important for this group to hear. One is that in the recent teacher survey, they had over 1,400 people complete the survey, providing, in the recent chamber survey, they had over 1,400 people complete the survey with recommendations on policy positions that the chamber should take. And according to his data, half of those people were teachers, which I just think is a real powerful statement, because if you look at their advocacy platform, so much of it has to do with shoring up public education. And you can tell that it's one of those places where a teacher voice is having an impact on the business community. They did make one of their number one priorities education, and increasing teacher pay to the national average is listed as number one on their education priority position. So it's just great to see a Chamber of Commerce that is aligned with public education in that way, and we really appreciate them. The second thing is just to give the board a heads up that at the January board meeting, a resolution will come before them encouraging staff and family members to participate in the 2020 census, which is something that we've been asked as a community to help support. And so the Advocacy Committee passed a resolution encouraging that, and we'll present it to the entire board at the January board meeting.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mr. Lewis. Anyone else? Thank you. And we'll move to 8.01, monthly finance report.
There is no appreciable change in the financial position from last year. You have the report in your board materials, and Ms. Stack is certainly available and will be most happy to respond. Well, most happy, but happy to respond, somewhat happy to respond to any questions that you might have.
Maybe happy. Anyone have any questions for Ms. Stack? Anyone? Roger?
Chairman, I make a motion to adjourn.
Whoa. Does anyone want to wish everyone a Merry Christmas? Okay, at that point, all in favor, please address by raising your right hand. All opposed, the meeting is adjourned.
Hey, Robin.
You know, I thought about asking Robin a question, but I didn't have my lot.